Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shaper Sessions. I'm Russ, and we've got a very special guest today.
I'm Jake. Just kidding.
Wait a minute.
No, not Jake.
We messed up our names last week. We can't do it again.
We can't do it all the time. Just kidding. Hey, my name's Adi.
And Adi, what are we here to talk about today? This is super exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. It's a huge deal for us. Here to talk about Shaper Studio, the new design tool that we just announced.
For craftspeople. Simplified design for craftspeople. We know that digital design is one of the most complicated facets of using a tool like ours, and we made this awesome product to help you get over that hurdle. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to do some great demos. Got a couple ground rules for everybody. We've got Q&A, which if you're watching live, we do that after the show. Make sure to drop all your questions, and we know there are going to be a ton in the comments. We've got Ted in the comments. He's going to answer as many of those live as he can, and then any that Ted can't answer or that require a demo or anything else, Adi and I will answer at the end of the show. The other thing at the end of the show, this is super exciting. We always do giveaways. This is an especially good one. What are we giving away today, Adi?
It's a big one. We're actually going to give away 3 annual subscriptions, or a 1-year annual subscription to Studio. So you definitely want to stick around because it's a big one.
Awesome. Stick around to the end. And to enter that giveaway, what you're going to do is answer the poll question that's going to pop up at the bottom of your screen. That poll question is, what are you excited to make with Shaper Studio? If you don't have an idea right off the top of your head, you can wait a couple of minutes. That poll question is going to be up for most of the show. Maybe one of the demos that we do sparks an idea for you. All right, let's get started.
Let's do it.
So, Adi, we've got a lot of background to cover.
Yeah.
I think for starters, we just touched on this. Why did we build this? We need a simplified design tool for craftspeople. But like, where did that story come from? How did that realization happen?
Yeah, so I mean, we've Origin's been in the market for a while now, and we've always said this: you can use any CAD program or any design program that makes an SVG. And that's still the case, right? We're not. That's not going to stop being the case. But we did notice and got a lot of feedback from users that Origin has so many capabilities, but it's really hard for people to actually use those capabilities because design was the hurdle. And time and again we would hear that, and so sort of born from that idea, like what is simple design made for crafting or craftspeople, not sort of design made for building a website. Or design build for, engineering design, for example.
Right. And so when you say digital design, that's where my mind goes immediately, like Autodesk Fusion 360 or Adobe Illustrator, super complex programs. And we'll pull those up a little bit later for contrast. But let's keep going on this Studio story. So then we started working on Studio, or I should say the product that was to become Studio.
Exactly. So yeah, we started working on this internally. We were just proving out the concept, and we actually released the design tool to the community under sort of the banner that we were calling Shaper Labs. I'm sure a lot of people in sessions maybe have used it and checked it out. It was about a year ago, and sort of the goal with Labs, has always been to see what the community responds to. What do they actually need? What do they actually want? Is this something that is a need that even exists? And I mean, the feedback for the design tools and Labs has been awesome, which is really what compelled us to continue development on this tool.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you could think of Labs as maybe a beta program for Shaper Studio.
You can think of it as like us testing it out. I mean, in general, sort of like we're calling it Shaper Labs. That is going to be sort of our experimental platform for all future product development. So, definitely some exciting things coming in the future there. So. Yeah, the design tools was the first thing we did. But you can definitely expect more things there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing there is if you are signed up for Labs now, stay tuned.
Yes.
Because we can't tell you when and we can't tell you what, but there's gonna be something.
It's gonna be more
cool
stuff. Yes.
Coming up. Great. And so for the people that have used Labs and have been familiar with Labs, we'll go into a couple of Studio demos here. There are going to be some differences between Labs and Studio that we'll talk about. But for contrast, before we get into the demos, I want to pull up I took some screenshots of some things that I was working on in Fusion 360 and Illustrator, just as a point of contrast, because I think it's really telling how busy these Fusion 360 and Illustrator screens are compared to something like the Studio screen that we're going to be working in mostly today. Goose, can you pull up some of those slides? So you might be familiar with this. This is the record cabinet that we made a video of about a year ago now. And hint, hint, these project plans might be coming out in a couple weeks. Nice. I've been working on those.
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. Definitely an advanced project, but I'm excited to see some folks in the community build it. But this is the Fusion 360 interface, and you can see we have just one tab open out of about 10 total tabs that have the same number of commands in them. And I interact with about 2 of those 10 tabs on any given day. I work with the modeling tab that allows you to draw things, and then I work with the making tab, which allows you to export things. And we have an exporter for Fusion 360 that directly exports SVGs for shape or origin. It's really great. But this is the type of digital design tool that requires a lot of training to really wrap your head around.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key, right? It's the learning curve. The learning curve is steep, takes a lot of time, patience. If you're not using it sort of on an everyday basis, it's really hard to know what to go back to. It requires you to watch a video. And a lot of projects don't require sort of all of those capabilities, you know. I have an mechanical engineering background, so I spent a lot of time in 3D CAD, and I can tell you that I get frustrated building, 3D for a lot of projects for Origin. So it can get incredibly frustrating. And that was the goal again with Studio, is like keep it simple, give you the tools that you need to get started, and go quickly.
Yeah.
You wanna jump into the UI?
Let's show off that Illustrator screen, just because this is another one that's frustrating for me. I just love to show off the frustrations so that we can come back around to the win of the simplicity. And so, for example, this is the Illustrator screen, and I use about 3 of the tools in Illustrator out of probably 100 or more that it does that I'm not even aware of.
And then do you save as or export? Or,
I save as. Okay. That's always confusing to me, though. I save as in SVG, and we have SVG settings and a whole tutorial on that on our website for those Illustrator users out there. But that's super confusing. Also, just getting the file out of Illustrator and then onto Origin is a big hurdle for me, right? I always forget what I've done.
Keeping the right units, like are you working in pixels, or are you working?
Oh yeah, I hate that it defaults to points. I don't even know what a point is. Give me inches or millimeters. I don't know what a point is. So great. Let's jump into Studio. We've got 3 demos today. We've got a small cutting board that we're going to engrave. We have a small toolbox that we're going to do a foam tool layout for, and we've got a push stick that we're going to make. We're going to duplicate one of these because this one's close to the end of its life, so we need to make a couple more. But yeah, let's jump into that interface. Maybe we'll start off with a tour, just to give everybody an idea of what's going on.
So you're looking at my laptop screen now, and I'm in Chrome, but you can be in any browser. And so Studio is a web-based tool, which all that means is you can pull it up on any modern browser. Just type studio.shapertools.com once it's officially live.
Wait, say that again. That works on my laptop and my desktop and my iPad and my phone, and because those all have browsers?
Exactly, yeah. As long as you're connected to the internet, that's the one caveat.
Yeah.
Connect to the internet. You have a modern browser, you can pull it up. So.
That's awesome, because I've been destroying my laptop with sawdust.
Yep. Yeah, I hate that too. I hate bringing my computer into a shop. And then a big thing here is there's no downloading. There's no downloading and going to a website to go pull the update. You just go here, you have the latest version of the tool available to use.
Awesome.
All right, so let's do a quick tour. So, if you've used Labs at all, you're probably familiar with some of these creation tools. So, we have some creation tools on the left side, Find Art, which gives you access to millions of pre-made designs, some basic shape tools, obviously adding text, and then one that we know that a lot of people are excited by, which is importing SVG, but not just SVG, also importing DXF.
This is new. People that have used Labs will not have seen this before. This is new.
Totally.
That's awesome.
And this is one that I get a lot of questions about all the time, especially on labs feedback, that people want to use DXF because a lot of like maybe AutoCAD we mentioned before uses DXF, and people are familiar with those tools, and that's great, but it's hard to convert that into something that's actually usable. And so we knew that was really important to build. All right, so and then let's move on. We'll dive into each of these as we do these projects. But another sort of like important thing I want to talk about is we have these 3 modes, we call them: design, plan, and review. And so design is where you do sort of the design work. Plan, which is again totally new. I'm going to add a shape here so you can sort of see what's going on. But when we go to plan, you'll sort of start to see this is almost starting to mimic Origin a little bit.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, which is again completely new from what we had in labs before, and is again definitely something we hear all the time. People want to check their designs, like do a pre-flight essentially, right? Because otherwise you sort of go to the shop, look at your design, realize you made one small mistake, and then you got to run back to your office,
right?
Or I don't know, home.
Yeah, absolutely. There's something to be said for prototyping in wood, but when you're working on something like a $10,000 table, you want to be able to see what that's going to look like before you cut it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
And like, it does 2 things. It lets you plan your cuts, but also sort of catch mistakes. And then this one we're excited about, calling review. And review is sort of like a lightweight simulation, if you will, of the cuts. And so, in design mode, maybe you have something that you think you want to design, or what sort of looks like your design, but review really shows you once you cut it with a specific bit what that might actually look like. So design, plan, review, keep it simple. Again, the goal here with Studio is making tools that are for the real world and for actually making real things, right? So you'll notice everything is in real world dimensions, inches.
No points.
There's no points.
No points.
No points. And there's not, the UI is clean. We, pull up only the tools you need when you need them.
Okay.
And really sort of keep it as simple as possible. All right, enough talking. I think.
Okay.
Do you want to jump into
demo?
Yeah,
let's do a demo, and that's going to show off almost all of these things that we just kind of glossed over in more depth. So I have here set up on the bench a small, we'll call it a cocktail size cutting board.
Okay.
You might cut your lemons or your limes on here when you're making your gin fizz.
Yep.
And so it's just a blank piece of cherry right now. What I would like to do is add a custom engraving, let's say, a wedge of lemon and a juice groove around the edge.
Let's start with that with the cutting board. What size is it?
It's 7 by 10. It's 10 inches wide and 7 inches tall.
So we can just type that in really quickly, and so I have 7 by 10, and you can see right there. And now we're gonna add a juice groove. So let's do a rounded rectangle.
And I am going to round these corners later. So if we add a rounded rectangle for that juice groove, that's going to be perfect.
And so I'm going to add this rounded rectangle. And you can see as I move this around, I'm getting these alignment guides that's actually helping me quickly snap to the center. And now I can resize that juice groove visually. And you can see as I'm resizing, the position doesn't move. Or I can just type that in. So
yeah, what if I wanted it to be an exact size? Let's say a 1/2 inch from each edge.
All right, so we said 10 by 7, so that would be 9 by 6. So we just subtracted 1.
Okay.
And that's already centered, and there you go. So we can use that rectangle, and you can cut that online, and you'll get a nice juice groove.
I'll do that online with a round end router bit.
Yep, perfect. All right. And then you said you wanted an engraving?
I want an engraving. Let's do like a lemon, a slice of lemon.
All right, perfect. So again, this is Find Art, which is essentially gives you access to literally millions of pre-made designs. So
more than with labs, I want to say, correct?
Similar to labs, but 3 million.
3 million. Yeah, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Okay. Do you have any opinions, Russ?
I like kind of a round slice.
Right.
Yeah, how about that one?
That one looks pretty
right
good. All right, perfect. And now again, we can go in here and we can visually place it. But say we wanted to like put it at a specific location, right? From the edge or something like that. This is again new from labs, calling this feature position. And if you have an origin, presumably have an origin, you're watching the session.
A lot of folks don't, actually.
Oh, really?
And one of the really, we've got a lot of people who are interested and who are learning about the system. And I would like to mention, because we haven't actually touched on this, is that there are quite a few tools that use 2D design files that are not shape or origin. So laser cutter users, for example, vinyl cutter users, for example, you could use this with any tool that takes 2D SVG files.
Totally, yes, exactly. So I mean, I could use the same file on a laser cutter, and if rather than engrave this lemon, I could actually laser etch it.
Laser etch it, yeah. Super
exactly.
cool.
Okay, so let's look at position really quickly, and you can see now that I turned that on, I actually have the position from 0, 0, which is the center. So let's just offset that and say we want to put it at 3.5 and minus 2.5. Oh, well, that got a little too close to the, we'll say minus 2.
Yeah, and if you had put the corner of the rectangle at 0, 0, then you could offset from 0, 0 based on the corner of the rectangle as well.
I can do that really quickly.
Yeah,
I can
let's try
move
that.
it to the center. And now you can see that, you know, basically my bottom corner is now 0, 0, and I can move this lemon to exactly the location I want, either by moving it around or typing in exactly a number. So let's just call it 8.5 by 1.5.
There we
so
go.
That's from
that
the
looks
edges.
way better.
All right, perfect. All right, so we have this here. Let's rename this to, what do we want to call it? A cocktail, cocktail board. All right, we'll call it that. And then if you remember on labs, for people who've used it, at this point I would, you know, hit download or hit save. So a huge upgrade on Studio is all the work you're doing is automatically being saved and automatically being synced to our backend. Yeah. So what does that mean? One, it means you're not going to lose your work. But two, if you go to your origin, Russ.
Okay, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do.
Hit import.
Okay, hit import. Here we go.
All Russ has done is logged into the same account.
There it is.
And
okay. So I've already gridded. I'm going to move my anchor point down here. I'm going to place that corner at 0, 0. And you can see that that is all lined up perfectly. You know what, Adi, though? I don't love this lemon.
Okay.
I take it back. I'm sorry. What if we put... We've got Goose. Goose does a ton for us, but he's never on the show.
Yes.
What if we add something to this? And what if we're already in the shop, so we've left the laptop behind?
All right.
The laptop's gone. I've got my iPad, though.
Okay.
I do my Spotify through the iPad in the shop.
Okay. A lot of caveats, but
yeah,
you know,
let's see what we can do.
We'll take them. All right, so I'm gonna pull up my iPad. Let's assume we're with Russ in his shop now.
Yeah. Hey Goose, let's switch to the iPad cam. Yeah, there we go.
All right, so I'm going to go to my files. This is new. People who've been using Shaper Hub will recognize this as currently origin files. All of this is going to update when we ship Studio. But you can see the cocktail board is already on there. And I'm just going to open this up. All right, let's do that. Actually, let's just do this. Let's just pull up Studio. And we pulled up Studio, and you can see the thing that happened automatically is the last worked on design automatically opened, which happens to be the cocktail board. Yep.
That's wild.
It's pretty awesome. And so I can edit this right here. So we want to get rid of that. And let us add...
Let's add a Goose, and let's add Goose's name. Goose.
All right, let's...
If that isn't too much.
Let's
get it
Goose's
going.
Name.
Goose.
Yep. Let's add Goose's name. And we'll resize this. And then we can put it to the same location we had before. We'll just type in a location. Yep.
We just got a question via Goose, which is, hey, can you change that font?
Yep, you can definitely change that font. Okay, it doesn't look like I'm on the right account, but You can see there's tons of fonts available. Let's move back to the other computer.
Okay, we're going back to the laptop. The illustration, though, has been made that you can work on this on your iPad and on the computer. We are shipping this in a couple weeks, so we are working out a couple of the very final kinks.
Yeah, exactly. You can see here, again, I was working on this on my iPad. You can see it already updated.
Right, it already updated to the laptop. It's hard doing the touchscreen live, too.
It is hard to do the touchscreen live, you're right. And this is not my iPad, so it's always a struggle. Okay, well, let's go to fonts. We have a ton more fonts than we had in lab, so we have a lot more handwriting fonts, a bunch of novelty fonts, sans serif fonts, script fonts. So let's pick a script font. What is a favorite font of yours?
What's a favorite font of mine? The favorite font of mine is like that Halloween font.
Oh, yeah? The creepy one?
Creepy Goose.
Creepster. It's literally called Creepster.
Oh,
Great.
no.
It's
we're going to have to do like a slime green inlay on this one.
It's a pretty creepy goose. All right. Perfect. So all we did now was a creepy goose, and then we will actually rename this to be... Oh, I'm not going to call it creepy goose. That's a bad idea. Let's call it the goose board.
Let's call it the goose board. That's perfect.
All right. And now if we go back to Origin...
Okay, back to the Origin cam. There we go. We're going to go to import. We're going to bring it in again, and you can see that name has been updated to Gooseboard. Going to drop that anchor to the bottom left. Reposition this. And there we go. So it couldn't be easier, basically, to edit your work on the fly, which is really killer for prototyping, making those little tweaks in the shop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, the whole thing with all your works getting saved and synced across devices means that you can be working on something in your office, go to your shop, pull up your phone, make a slight edit, and keep going.
Yeah. How are we doing on time? I would love to cut this out.
All right.
What do you think?
Let's go.
If I don't do it now, it's never going to happen. You know how it is in the shop.
Let's keep
going.
I
want to do a quick engraving here just to show you all how quick and easy this is. This is already set up with online cuts. No, it's not. It's set up as outside cuts. But that's okay for engraving. That really works just fine because your bit width is so narrow. And actually, if I change this to this offset, this is moving into pro tips territory. But if I change this offset to half the width of my cutter, done. Hard to see, but that dotted line is right on the line, and that's going to carry over for all these cuts and basically make them online cuts.
Yeah. All right. While you're cutting, I'm gonna show them plan mode because we skipped over that. But
okay.
Well, why don't you do the engraving and then?
Yeah, let's get it going here. So we're just going to engrave this goose cutting board.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Well, I'll keep talking. Hopefully you can hear me over this. So yeah, we skipped over this, but you could always actually plan your cuts on the tool itself. So I was in design mode. I just switched over quickly to plan mode, and you can see here I could have gone in and selected these paths and actually set them all to online or inside, and set them to online, set the bit to an engraving bit, and now if I actually go to review mode, I can quickly see what that would look like. And if we had done this before Russ had started, he wouldn't have had to change things on the fly or on the tool at all.
I turned off the vacuum here too, so it's a little more clearly. With the engravings, I don't know if anybody can actually hear me say this, but with the engravings, the vacuum can make a lot of noise, and it doesn't actually suck up that much dust.
Yep. Let's see where Russ is at with his engraving. He's really cranking through this one.
with those small letters.
Yep.
And with the wiggly, oozy, creepy font, right?
Yep.
It really lets you just fly.
It lets you fly.
With auto mode. Auto mode lets you absolutely fly. I'll peel this up so that we can show folks. I did not cut that juice groove. I can always re-grid and go back and do that later, but I'm going to just peel this up. And should have brought over a little piece of sandpaper, but you can see that if we go over to this bench cam. Could not be faster and easier to personalize a piece of work. So, Goose, this is for you, buddy. Thanks for always helping us out with the shows.
Thank you, Goose.
He says he's so proud, everybody. You can't hear him, but he says he's so proud. Yeah. Great. So I saw that you were talking about plan mode. Did you go through plan mode and review mode?
Yeah, we did that a little bit. Yeah, we skipped over that on this one, but when we could have gone to plan mode and set everything to online, and then if you'd shown up on tool, it would have. Well, let's do that right now, actually. So I already set my engraving to online. I'm going to set the outside box to guide because I just wanted to use it as a guide, and then also set my juice groove to be online. And now, again, all of this work is already being auto-saved and synced. And now if you go back and import.
If I go back and import the Goose board, we'll go to that same thing. We want to position this correctly.
0, 0.
Okay. Place that. And then, yeah, absolutely. You can see that blue there is a guideline, so that's not going to let us cut anything accidentally that we don't want to cut. And if we go back over to the G, let's see if the magic happened. Online. That's perfect. So that would have saved me the time then of going on tool and clicking through from outside to online, which is a huge hassle when I import files from Illustrator and I forget to encode them in that digital design tool. This lets me do it and see what I'm doing at the same time.
Totally. And yeah, it lets you do it very quickly, right? On tool, you got to go path to path.
Yeah.
Here you can select a whole bunch of things, set them up correctly. And speaking of that, we hear this from people all the time, which is maybe they have an SVG already, and all they really want to do is encode it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. How do I do that? Right.
Yeah. So let's move back to Studio, and I want to show you some exciting things, which I think, especially those of you who use a lot of other CAD programs and are comfortable using them, will find super useful. So I'm just going to hit New Design, just so we don't lose our Goose board. This, again, something we couldn't do with Labs.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't have all our work saved.
It's automatically saved. That's
exactly.
Great.
And now, because we can import SVG and DXF, let's import something here. I think I found this on Hub, but let's assume we have this SVG. It's actually a mini sys.
I'm going to take a beat here and make it explicit that we're moving on to Demo 2 now. We're going to show off some cool import stuff. For anyone who's joining us mid-show here, we're showing off Shaper Studio, our just announced digital design tool for craftspeople. I'm sure there are going to be plenty of questions. Drop those in the Q&A. We'll answer them live at the end of the show, and then also answer the poll question that's at the bottom of your screen to be entered in the giveaway, which is 3 one-year licenses or subscriptions, that is, to Studio.
To Studio, yep, that's right.
Okay.
And so just a recap what I did. I just dropped and imported this mini sys outline.
Wait. Hold on. I want to dwell on that for a second because that is so cool to me. You just uploaded this from your computer.
Yes.
This was on your computer. Oh, Goose says we're down. Oh, okay. Well, take a beat. We got kicked off. Are we back on? Okay. Thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. It sounds like we just had a little internet hiccup there.
Yep.
But we are working on importing files into Shaper Studio. We just uploaded a DXF from Adi's computer, and we're going to find some SVGs on Shaper Hub to customize this mini sustainer.
Yeah, we could always upload a DXF. I just want to be clear, though, Russ. It wasn't a DXF.
Oh, that was an SVG.
That was an SVG.
Okay.
But that could have been a DXF.
Good. Complete transparency.
Yeah,
that's on me.
All good. All right, and now we're going to go on Shaper Hub and search for a tool. So I know that we definitely have tool outlines on. So I'm going to search for a 4mm wrench. And here's one that Shaper has published in the past. And it's the stock 4mm wrench that comes with the tool.
Okay.
And so I can sync this to my files. And now I can actually go back to Studio and I hit import. I can always drop in stuff from, you know, my local disk or my computer, but I can also browse my files, and you'll see here that it's already on here.
Wow.
And so I can select that 4mm wrench and place it on here, and now there we go. So you can start seeing how this can get really powerful, you know, when you can mix and match.
We have over 1,000 community-generated projects on Shaper Hub, which is not even to say how many files there are on there, because most projects have several, if not tens of files. And so you can just remix those at will here.
Yeah, exactly. You can remix those. I can add...
Yeah, what else have we got?
Let's see, what else have we got? I think I did this already. I think I searched... here we go. We have a bunch of individual parts that somebody's published. So maybe we want to add end mills. This is just 5 end mills. And I remember seeing a call it file too. So let's do that.
Yeah, this is going to become my Shaper Origin super kit.
There you go. So... You know, we did that really quickly, and now we mix and match these. I can always go in here, and if I wanted to customize this, you know, put some engraving, I could do that, or make a shape for you know, a different cutter or a different bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like that 16mm router bit that we've got. So like, let's do this. Like, what if you make a place for the shank that is 8mm wide, because it's got that 8mm shank on there?
Yeah, and okay, let's do this. We want to work in millimeters, so we're just gonna switch over really quickly to millimeters.
We didn't even talk about this before the show. We're just doing it.
We're just doing it. Yeah.
Great.
All right, so we're gonna make an 8mm shank. You know, that's gonna be tight, but it's foam, so it'll be okay. And then how tall is that bit? Do you have any idea?
Oh, that's a great question. Let's give it a little extra room. Let's call it 3 inches or 75mm.
All right, let's call it 75mm.
Okay.
And then we know that that's a 16mm cutter head, right?
It's square, yeah. It's 16 by 16, actually.
Okay, 16 by 16.
So that's easy.
That's easy. So we're just going to make this 16 by 16.
Okay.
And then we can actually combine this to make a single shape. So it's, you know, we could do 2 things. Here, we could either cut this to be deeper if we really wanted.
Right.
Or we can combine these 2 shapes together with this tool we call Shapeshifter, which makes it super simple to combine shapes.
Yeah, show me that.
Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to... Actually, let's make this radius nice and small, because we don't necessarily need it to be super rounded. Show me this, and then I'm going to ask you to undo it, because I actually want you to do something else, but I want to see this first. I want to see this first. Great. And you can see all I need to do is I'm basically coloring in the parts I want to keep, and I hit make shape. There we go.
Okay.
We'll combine that.
So you had a great point, which is that I want that 16mm cutting area to be cut deeper than the shank.
Right.
So I want to undo that so I can cut those 2 pockets separately.
Yep.
But what I want to add to the shank is a little half-round scoop so that I can get my finger under there and pull it out.
Okay. Let's
and all you did you just hit the undo button?
Yeah,
and
sorry.
we're right back to where we were.
Yeah, I'll do that really quick too, because maybe we missed that. But
what if we redo?
Wow. Undo. We're just going back and forth in time now. All right, but you wanted to add a scoop, so we'll add a little circle. How big do you want that?
That's
scoop?
fine. Yeah, just enough to get a little finger in there.
And we'll do it to the side.
Yeah.
Right, there we go. And so now, you know, we want to cut this, the actual where the cutter part is, we want to cut that separately. So we're going to keep that shape separate. And then we're going to combine these 2, again, with Shapeshifter. I can go in, click each one, or here's a quick tip. I can select all and make shape.
That's way easier. Yeah. And I've done it where I hit select all, and then it's easier to remove shapes from that also. Like if you want to select most of the shapes, you start with select all. And then you deselect the ones that you don't want to keep. Can be easier that way.
Exactly. All right, there we go. So we have this ready to go. We'll just rename this to be Minisys. And I don't need to do anything.
I just want to, like,
Just want to look at it.
I want to reiterate this, how cool it is. We're not set up for this workspace yet, obviously, but I want to reiterate how cool it is that I can just click on Mini-Sys right there. And if I had my foam set up on Workstation, for example, I would just drop that in and I'm ready to cut. So the goal here, as I understand it, is to not spend a ton of time on the computer and spend way more time doing the fun stuff for me, which is cutting.
Exactly.
With Origin.
I mean, absolutely. I think we've said this sort of in a lot of our Instagram posts. We really want to spend less time fussing over the design. You hear people always say how much time they need to work on the design before they ever get to cutting. Again, the goal here is to get you cutting, making the thing you want.
Yeah.
Not staring at a screen. That's absolutely not our intention.
All right, Adi. The thing I want is a new push stick.
Okay.
This is a complex shape. So this is the most challenging demo of the day. But I'm just going to hand this to you. Actually, I'll take some measurements for you. You tell me what measurements you want.
All right, let's start a new design.
We'll make this push stick. And I'm gonna have this on the workstation cam, Goose, so maybe you can pop over for some measurements also. Like, let's look at this. So this is, for starters, this is 11 inches wide.
Okay, so we're just going to start with a rectangle. Okay, you keep switching units on me there.
But it's so easy to switch units on me.
It's really... so just my brain can't keep up.
I know. That's one of my favorite things about Origin is I work with metric hardware and inch files because I'm American and I'm always swapping back and forth in the calculator.
I love that too.
It's super easy.
I honestly can't think in inches. I only think in millimeters. But let's do this in inches.
Okay, we're doing this one in inches. 11 inches wide, and you're going to need... do you want a total height, or what part do you want to make now?
Let's get this height.
Okay, we're going to get this height.
We're going to make this part first. It's a rectangle.
Okay, great. So we've got that. Do you want this piece included, or just this rectangle here?
Yeah, let's get this piece included.
Okay, so that's going to be 2 1/4 inches plus a 1/2 inch. So that's 2 3/4 inches tall.
2.75.
Yep.
All right. And so, that was basically the body, we'll call it. Right?
Okay.
And let's start sort of forming the handle now.
Okay.
That sort of looks to me like a triangle.
It's a triangle for sure.
Yeah.
And it's about 6 inches wide, so it goes a little bit farther than halfway.
Okay, so let's start with a triangle. And all I did there was hit the polygon tool. By default, it'll give me a 5-sided polygon, but I can quickly make a triangle. And then now we can see that, all we actually wanted there was a right triangle. So I'm going to, I have an equilateral triangle. I'm going to make this into a right triangle by doing a quick shapeshifter operation.
Okay, this is a little bit of a trick here then.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a trick. But this is sort of, again, to show you how quick it is to build these shapes together.
To make these basic shapes, yeah.
Exactly. All I'm going to do is select a triangle and this rectangle that I'm going to use to cut that triangle out. And all I want is this part of the triangle. So we'll do that. And then it definitely does not looks a little more squat than it needs to be. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
It's sort of what we want, right?
That's getting there. It should be about 5.5 inches wide.
Okay.
And about 4.5 inches tall with the round. So let's leave it square, like 5.5 inches wide and 5.5 inches tall with that corner, and then we'll round off that corner.
Okay, and I'm just snapping this to the left corner, or the top left corner.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, and now we want to round that top corner.
We want to round this off.
Let's make a little circle.
And that's about 2.5 inches in diameter. That is. And Goose, I hear a note coming in from the Goose Roost. What's up? Show it to the camera. Oh, I'm behind Origin. Goose wants me to show off the push stick again. So, yeah, great idea. Thank you. So that's what we're doing here. We're doing this approximately 2.5 inch diameter round on the top of this handle right there. Yeah, my bad. Thanks, Goose. Keeping us in line.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully you can see my screen. All we're doing now is adding this round. Right? Okay. You said 2.5. It looks pretty rounded, but let's go with that. Let's go with that.
Let's stick with it.
And again, we're going to shapeshift it. And so all we're going to do is
Make that just a skosh higher.
Just a skosh higher. So
A
it
skosh.
actually a skosh.
That's my
That's your-
Wisconsin coming out.
Yeah. All right. Let's make sure.
Got to make sure you get a little bit of overlap on the lines, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right, let's do that.
Uh-oh. I'll reiterate that this is an announced product, but we are taking an we're taking an extra couple of weeks to really work out the final little details, because it's the details that push this over the top to a really amazing thing.
All right. Well, let's like really exaggerate it.
Yeah, let's see what happens. Might have to file a bug on this one, Adi.
This looks like a live bug. We're finding it live. All right.
Well, I have destroyed work with Origin live, and I've come back to fix it. We'll just, we can promise you that that's going to be
It's going to be fixed. It's going to be fixed. If you're on the email list to get notified, you should. We will receive an email as soon as it's announced, and you can go in there and sign up for the product and start using it right away.
Yeah. And if you're not on that email list, go to shapertools.com. There's going to be a button under the Studio tab that says Notify Me, and that'll add you to that email list. You'll get notified when this is released in public. Yeah. And it looks like we're just going to start again a little bit with this triangle here. Let's see what happens if we give it another shot.
Let's do that really quickly.
Okay. Once again, really easy to make that right triangle just by shape shifting, which is subtracting that rectangular portion.
Yeah, we're gonna mess with this triangle a little bit.
Drag that a little wider.
All right, let's all say a prayer together.
Hey, all right, there we go. Perfect.
Right, we found some edge case, so that was good. We found a bug live.
Yeah,
that means we're gonna fix it.
This is how we fix things.
Yeah, it's
we
great.
Test the snot out of them.
Yeah, great.
All right, let's add this. We'll call it a pill shape. We'll call it a pill shape here for this handle.
Yeah. So how tall would you say that is?
I'm gonna say that is 4.5 inches tall, and it is 1 inch wide, and it's at the same angle as the angle on the handle.
Okay, so let's make this a pill. So I just added a 1/2 inch radius, so it's a nice pill. And we can actually rotate this by typing in exactly what we want. So we have about -45 there, and I could go in and really sort of tweak this manually, or I could type this in, right? So maybe it's about what we want.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's move it down a little bit so that there's more room on this handle side. Here you see how it's nice and thick.
Yep.
Here, and it's pretty thin on the screen. I think if we just bump that down, that'll help.
So I can move this, click on that shape, move it around, or I can actually use my my keypad or my arrows to just bump it and nudge it a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I like that a lot. That looks way better. That looks really good.
Yeah, there you go. So we're starting to get the shape. Maybe we knock that out. Actually, we're going to leave that in there because that's what we want to cut.
We do want to cut that. Yeah. Okay.
And then what do we have left to do?
We have the shelf that supports the material as you cut it, the actual pushing part. So that's going to be a rectangle that goes along the length, and I want to have a clearance notch here in the back so that I can get a square piece of wood all the way up into that corner.
Okay, so
I don't want a rounded router bit portion there.
Perfect. So how much do you want to cut out of that? Maybe we'll call it 1/2 inch?
1/2 inch, exactly. Yep. Okay. And the tail on that is about 2 inches.
All right, perfect.
So that's 11 minus 2. It's like 9 inches or so.
Yeah, and you can see that... Let's do this. So, I was designing this with everything at 0, 0 as my center. So, so it's easy for us to do the math. We're just going to move everything and snap it. So the bottom left of that rectangle is at 0, 0. And now we can sort of quickly come in here and say we want it to snap to 2 inches from the edge. So you can see it's actually snapping to the grid, or I could type this in. Now, the dimension it's showing me is from the anchor. You know, like on Origin, we have active anchors.
Sure. So yeah, how do we change that?
So we can actually change that on Studio as well. Again, an upgrade from what we had on Labs, and we can actually select that bottom left anchor, and now you can see it's at 2 inches and 0.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So all right. So what do we want to do? We wanted to cut that out.
Yep. And I need some corner relief also.
Right. And so let's say we're using a 1/4 inch bit.
Yeah, so let's make that a 0.3 inch circle.
Okay. And then we're just going to do a little knockout there.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
Yep.
And again, we're just going to quickly knock that out. That's sort of the shape we want.
The blue is what you want to keep.
Exactly. Perfect. So we knock that out. And then the last thing we're going to do is just combine these two things, because we didn't do that earlier. We'll just select all, combine that.
Okay.
There you go.
Wow, I like that a lot. And now, to drive it home one more time, this is a 2-part.
Well, do you want me to plan your cuts for you?
Oh yeah, of course.
Before
yeah, plan my cuts.
Yeah, let's do that.
I was getting ahead of myself. I'm so excited. I just love that it shows up and it's ready to go whenever I'm ready to go.
I mean, again, this one's 2 cuts, so it's super easy. But if I did want to plan my cuts, we could call this outside profile outside, and then we just want to knock out that inside profile. So we'll call it an inside cut. I do want to point out here that we obviously have some sharp corners. When we cut that on Origin, it's just going to round itself to the 1/4 inch bit that we're going to use. And I actually can see that if I change my bit diameter in plan mode and go to review, I can actually see what my final shape is going to be. So that gives you a great quick idea of what that final shape is going to be.
And if we wanted to spend more time with shapes, we could have drawn that as well.
We could definitely spend more time, massaging this curve, getting it to look nicer.
But we're on a schedule here, Adi.
We are on a schedule.
We've got a live show. We've got people asking questions, I hope, for the Q&A that we are going to answer shortly. Hint, hint, if you haven't asked any questions, please do. We got a name?
Yeah, we renamed it to Push Deck.
Okay, Goose, let's go to the Origin cam. I'm going to move this back over here, actually. We are on this cutting board demo area over here, and now this is the first thing that always blows people's minds that I want to show, which is when I move Origin from one workspace to the other, it shows me these workspaces that I've already set up. And I already set up this push stick workspace before the show, so all I have to do is hit that button and I'm instantly back to it. So we can see this ply set up on workstation. And what I can do here is import, push stick, and this I haven't gridded because it's not super critical. I could just drop that. I have my bounding white box completely inside my plywood. And there we are, we're ready to cut. If we pop into cut mode, I'm going to change this back to a 1/4 inch because I just put a new router bit in there. I'm going to make sure that I Z-touch, and when I go back, this should look a heck of a lot like review mode. So let's go back over here. We've got an outside cut.
Yep.
This one's showing an outside cut over here. I'm going to switch that to inside cut. Did we change that one?
I think we did. I think I selected both and changed it into outside.
Oh, they're both. Okay. Yeah. So if we looked at that on review mode, what would it have looked like?
If you changed them both to outside. I just changed it back to inside.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
All right. We're getting all mixed up here.
Yeah.
But make sure you hit that review mode so you can see how things look. And, I'm just going to do one pass at this so that folks can see how this works. We have done a lot of talking about Studio, but I like to do a little Origin demo every show because it's just absolutely incredible, and we have a lot of people joining probably for the first time who haven't seen Origin. So I'm just going to do one pass on this. I'm not going to cut it out completely. I'll just do one depth so that we're not hanging out too long.
Yeah, let's do it.
But if while I'm doing this, you could maybe narrate and give a little description of the way this whole crazy machine works.
Sure.
That would be super cool. And I am going to turn the vacuum on for this one. It does get loud, so you might want to step off stage.
Okay. Yeah, I'll step off stage so we're not...
I know you've done these before, but it's been a long time, and the setup's always changing over here. So the offstage definitely helps with the noise. So I'll just do a quick pass at a 1/4 inch depth. All right, here we go.
All right, so just going to hit the cut button, and what you're looking at now on screen is that the router is actually following that line. And you can think of this as a digital template, and that's that file that we created earlier, the SVG file. And if you look really carefully, the center of the spindle is going to stick to that line, and Russ just has to sort of move it in the general direction of that design, and Origin is going to auto-correct for all of his mistakes. And so he's going to go really quick now around this shape again, and you will see when he comes out of it, it's going to be perfectly cut. And you may have noticed as Russ went around a corner, he held the auto button. And so when he does that, Origin's actually just moving the bit automatically within the correction range. And so that's a really great technique. If you're using Origin a lot, it's great, you know, to get those tiny corners and get much better cut quality. It's a good pro tip. All right, so he's getting close to the end of this cut. Should be fairly quick. Did you run out of space?
I'm getting close to the camera is what I'm getting close to.
Oops.
I'm going to move this. I'm going to move this quickly. Sorry, Goose. I'm going to mess with our camera setup. Okay. But a good illustration that you can always stop, hit the red button to retract, safety first, and the blue line shows what you've cut, so you can go right back to where you were. I'm going to jump back into this.
Yeah, it's almost as if we planned that one. All right, so... We definitely did not plan that. But yeah, Russ just went straight back to the cut. As long as you have the workspace set up, you can, you know, leave that workspace up, come back the next day. If this cut was getting too long or too tiring for us, he could put this away, put Origin away, come back the next day and finish the project. And as long as, you know, he has workstation set up exactly the same, he can come back and start where he left off. So Origin's always remembering all the work you do.
Okay, there we go. Now, I know what you're going to say, Goose, which is fix that camera. All right. This is going to require a little bit of reconfiguring
some camera acrobatics.
There we go. A little fine tune on the camera. But you can see that's a push stick right there.
Yeah, and that was
from design to cut.
Yeah. Yeah, so Studio, well, we have 2 tiers, and we have that up on screen right now. There's a tier called Studio Lite, which is actually basically all the basics. Lets you get going with some basic shapes, some fonts, access to limited pre-made designs, and all similar features to Labs, and most importantly, all your work is being saved and synced to Origin. So you don't have to, you can still use the free tier with Origin. All your work is always being saved. And then Studio...
I want to say that again. All your work is always being saved.
All your work is always being saved.
That's a huge improvement over Labs.
Yes, yes. Huge improvement over Labs. And you can work on, obviously, you know, any number of designs you want simultaneously. And then you have the full access tier, which is all the stuff we looked at today, including plan mode and review mode. And that is an annual subscription of $99 a year.
How much is a Netflix subscription, Adi?
You know, I don't know anymore. They keep increasing that price.
Increasing it, and they never tell you.
I think it's like $18.99 now.
A month, which is like $200 a year. So, like, let's give some context to that $99 a year.
Yeah, $99
it's a steal.
Yeah, about $8 a month, essentially.
Yeah. Thank you for for joining us. This is Russ and Adi here at Shaper Tools. We'll see you next time.